Good morning. My intervention is an introduction to our themes, to our topics, in particular the relationship between human-centered design approach and user experience approach and inclusive design, because we have many points in common, many points to work together. And in any case, we work on exactly the same topics. And so, the first topics is relationship between design, ergonomics, social inclusion, and innovation, because design is innovation by definition. I don't read all the text, obviously, because it's too long, but European Community defines design one of the first topics, one of the first bases of innovation and economical competitivity way for Europe and the world in general. In particular, a more systematic use of design as a tool for user-centered and market-driven innovation in all sectors of the economy, complementary to research and development, would improve European competitiveness. So it's not all a question of theoretical themes, but is a substantial economics questions. So many themes about design, many words about design: imagination, invention, innovation, quality, project, design. But it's very important to know very well what these terms is, because imagination and invention are not necessarily a real contribution to our world, but is design, creativity, innovation, and design project when they are technical, when they are together with technical feasibility, when they are real. So design is innovation capacity. Is this our theme? And is the ability to imagine solutions and synthesize them into a feasible project, feasible products. So our goal are these. And so, why ergonomics in design? In the normal use of terms design? Because ergonomics is a scientific discipline that studies the interaction between people and the other elements of a system, of a complex system. Complex system is our reference because our world is complex, it's very complex. So ergonomics is a method of work, a method of design in a complex world. So we work in people-centered design climate, in people design reality, because for all us, I think, design value is designing for people. And so that is create products, environment, services able to offer psychical and physical well-being to people. And so it is the same thing that inclusive design approach is the same. Our work is the same. In ergonomics, this is definition by IEA, International Ergonomics Association. Ergonomics is divided in physical, cognitive, and organizational ergonomics. In these fields, design has a very important role, obviously. Areas of specialization are in incredible numbers, obviously. Health, human error, work organization, usability, very important obviously for us, design of system, human performance, clinical risk management, design for all, product design, communication design. These are definitions by SIE, Italian Society of Ergonomics, because in Italy the rule of design in ergonomics is very important, is very heavy from many years, not only in the recent years, but from 20 or maybe 30 years ago. Many fields of intervention. Ergonomics is a methodological approach, general approach. In design and sustainability, safety of work, obviously the first field of application, design for all, universal design, inclusive design, healthcare, and human-computer interaction, of course. And so, human-centered design is the core of our work, and is the the user-human-centered design approach is the practice of design products that can be used by users for the required objectives and use with maximum efficiency, maximum satisfaction, and minimum physical and mental stress. This is by Jeffrey Rabin, a very famous researcher in human-centered design. And this definition is very good today because the basic principles of human-centered design are acknowledge the users, understanding the users, understanding task, the context, and users, and when users are involved. It's very important for us. In fact, the first part of our project, of TUTCAT project, was involvement of users, of students into the school in Milan, in Turkey, in Florence, in Germany, in Finland, because the starting point of our work is involvement of users, and then a iterative process of designing, because we start from involvement of users, but we have to design. Our work is design, and the project, the design is aimed at user experience of users in a multidisciplinary perspectives. Is very important for us because at the end of this presentation we can see that our work is an iterative process, not a linear work, but an iterative work. User experience, the perceptions and the reactions of a user arising from the use or expectation of use of a product, system, service, and the set of feelings that the person experiences during the relationship with the product, the entire experience, physical, psychological, emotional, and so on. And product quality in the ergonomics and design approach is the ability of a product to respond to needs and expectations of its users. So, user experience. The goal is the user experience in this sense. 2 or 3 examples, very important for us, I think. Because when we talk about innovations, we have to know what is innovation for a designer. Because innovation born from a new interpretation, a new concept about needs, ways of life, desires, aspirations, aware or unaware, and the possibilities offered by new technologies and new materials and so on. Two or three examples. Television alcohol, maybe you know, is television in the 60s, very famous Italian design, Zanuso for Brion Vega, iPod, very important innovation in our life, but television and Walkman, for example, existed in the 60s and in the 70s, Walkman, but they were so. Walkman, do you remember, I think? Yes, all of us, the older of us, know very well Walkman, the CD player, no? The ancient way to listen music. They existed, but the innovation is a new way to look television, a new way to carry on our music. So, and another very famous, obviously, innovation is telephone, but in the 60s, I think, 70s, we had portable mobile telephone, no? in our homes, but our telephone now are telephone, television, music, all, no? Email, internet. So another way to do the same things. So innovation is in use, I think, new concept for new use. And so inclusion. Design for inclusion, inclusive design, is a new way to design new use for the same things, because when I design a new handle, a new maniglia, I think the word is a handle, is not an innovation handle. Innovation is the way to use handle. And so this example is very interesting, I think, in my opinion, because it is very good, it's beautiful for me, almost. But it's a normal, absolutely normal handle, a new form, a new way of use, but not for disabled people. It's a new handle in general. The same cheese grater, beautiful example by Zara Did. It's incredible. But it's a normal cheese grater, useful for a person with disability. But it is normal. Approach, human-centered design approach, inclusive design approach, user experience are in this sense the same approach. So in wellness, in a normal way to stay in the world, we can find new solutions in this sense. Another example, very interesting in my opinion, is this clock with bright system, but is a normal clock, very interesting, normal. I'd like to have this clock. So this is the way of thinking. We can start from understanding the variables that define the context, many variables, of user-product interaction, people-product interaction. I prefer this way to say. And reciprocal conditioning, priority levels, changes over time. Very important, changes over time in the life of everyone and in the time, normally in the time. Very important for us methodological approach of ergonomics and in particular human-centered design. Ergonomics is a methodological approach in synthesis, and so we use a method to evaluate and for interpreting I think people needs and people expectations. It's very important, this point. We use method based on expert assessment and method based on user engagement, user involvement. Methods are many numbers. In our laboratory, we classify I think 100 or 200 methods in ergonomics approach, but the most important are around 10, and they are observation, contextual observation, interviews, thinking aloud, focus group. I think you know very well these methods. The approach is obviously interactive, iterative. It's very important to look at this slide because we have in human-centered design approach basic objectives, basic goals, and more extended goals. Not we can work on a small on a small goal, and when it is possible, we can work on a very large, very important goal. From safety of use, the basic goal, the most important, obviously, to virtuous behaviors. The most important for us, but very large, very difficult to work in this direction. And in the same way, we have different levels of intervention, from basic to large, and so from adaptations of individual components of a workstation, for example, to global intervention, product line, company line, and so on. What we do? We don't work in a linear approach, absolutely not, because it is impossible for us start from a point to arrive at a specific goal. Absolutely not. But we have a iterative approach that starts from comprehensions about people and the entire frame of variables, so market, so social demand, organizational management into companies. It is a very important problem. We don't work alone, we work with a team into the company and out of a company. Technical standards, pressure, technological innovation, and so on. And our approach is a global approach to the global problems. I think that it is the entire frame. For a conclusion, Human 2020 leading strategy give us some definition about inclusive design and inclusive growth. The main elements or social innovation and inclusive growth are social need, new solution. I speak in few words. The evaluation of the effectiveness of new solutions in satisfying social need. Effective social innovation and inclusive design. Very important aspect is the design of consumer products and or services accessible and usable by the maximum number of people possible. Inclusive design is based on accessibility and usability, and then the same basis of ergonomics approach. And what we have to do, inclusive design, and I end my intervention because it's too long, but from what people, for what person we have to design. For disabled people, obviously, the first goal of our intervention, but for persons with little disabilities, of disease, of problems with age, for elderly, most in general, and for people in temporary disabled situation. All of us with a very big bag, or with a baby, or with a bicycle on the sand, there are situations not about disabled people, but about normal difficulties. And so, our reality is this, we know very well. Stairs, barriers of every kind, barriers for child, barriers for elderly, for persons, people with wheelchairs, persons with very small disease. And so our goal is a specific type of human-centered design approach. In ergonomics research, we have many people, many researchers like me, but like many of us, that works now in the borderline between ergonomics, human-centered design, inclusive design, and design for all, universal design. Our work is the same, I think, and so the problem is not the definition of our field of work, or field of our research, but our goals. And so we work with simple goals. I think the people needs type or types of use, type of context or context, because we work in a continuous involvement of our context of design. And so I finish now to point, very important in my opinion, for many years in the past, architects, designers worked in a very specific field, in very specific topics of design, planning for elderly, design for blind people, design for disabled people, design for elderly and disabled, terrible way to talk about this problem. And so our design is very, very oriented. And so I can design for elderly, but I design a product not fit for blind people, and so on. Human-centered design and inclusive design approach are very different from this approach for old approach, because we design for use, for needs, not for categories of peoples. So the same need, the same expectation can be about elderly, blind, children, and so on. So I finish. Thank you for your attention, and please.